Hey friends, thanks for tuning in for this special video. I just offer some reflections on the cultural implications of the Trump victory. I am not a political pundit. I'm not a political expert. I don't have political expertise in predicting this and that. And honestly, the only reason I comment on political issues is because they intersect with cultural issues, and cultural moral issues are things that I talk about a lot as that interfaces with the gospel in many, many ways. But there are tons of people far better equipped to talk about election results and how the government works and this candidate and who's in the cabinet, et cetera. So I really refrain from most of those comments. But because of our being on the front lines of the culture wars, I want to talk about something really interesting in light of the Trump victory. This is whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, whether you voted for him or for another candidate. What I'm saying holds true either way. It's quite an extraordinary and unexpected story, from him losing 4 years ago, then everything he's been through, from the court cases against him to the assassination attempts to so much of the secular media being really anti-Trump. It's quite amazing that he's back in office. Whether you think it's blessing or judgment, again, it's not my issue. But here's the big surprise, and I think it's something that we can't miss. I was very disappointed when Trump gutted the Republican platform and for the first time since 1980, removed a strong pro-life platform from the language, and also got rid of any opposition to same-sex, quote, marriage, and just focused on radical transgender activism. Now, my feeling was he was doing it to be pragmatic. He knew the abortion issue was not a good issue, so he stepped back from that. He knew even before his first presidency, he said, hey, the law is decided about same-sex couples, and that's not an issue. So that was not really deeply in his heart either. But he knew the trans issue was a controversial one, and he knew he could speak about late-term abortion. So God knows what's in his heart. God knows what his convictions are. I'm not making any judgment on that. But to me, it was an obvious weakening of the Republican platform. And as one observer noted, he did more to water down the Republican platform than anyone on the left had done in many, many years. So here's what's so interesting, though. What his election was in many ways was a mandate of common sense, was a mandate of people saying, we've had it with this crazy leftist ideology, even though many people didn't like Trump's personality, even though many didn't like his leadership style. They just were repudiating and rejecting an agenda on the radical left. And rather than the nation being totally divided, as I assumed it would be after the elections, just even more deeply divided afterwards, there's actually been a shift to the right. There's actually been a shift towards conservatism. Now, there's a long way to go, and the church has to lead the way in recovering our moral conviction. But here are articles that have come out in recent days. Democrats torn over transgender issue. Centrists worry that the party is reading the public wrong. These are major articles on major publications in print or online that I'm reading now. Democrats say, why in the world did we agree with boys playing in girls' sports or 13-year-old girls who are confused about their gender having their breasts removed? What were we thinking? This is wrong. They were kind of going along with it. Then they see where the culture shift. It's like, what were we thinking? Here's another headline. After Harris's election loss, devastated Democrats play the blame game. They reckon, okay, we were doing things wrong. I saw one quote from a CNN commentator, so a liberal commentator, saying, why are we surprised that men are leaving the Democrat Party when we tell them that men are inherently evil? Here's another headline. Maureen Dowd, Democrats and the case of mistaken identity politics. That Americans just said, we've had it with everybody's the oppressor, the oppressed, or just the identity politics, just you're getting your own little ethnic group in it, and we're all victims. Yeah, there are issues that need to be addressed, and there are injustices, of course. But this hyper-Marxist mindset of putting everything in these categories, that people are just saying, what is this? And the crazy rise of anti-Semitism has opened the eyes of many leftist Jews, like, whoa, we got this on the left also. ABC in panic mode. scrambles to bring in pro-Trump personalities for The View and other shows. These are headlines that the networks are like, oh, we gotta have to get some conservatives in, not just pro-Trump, but conservatives in to keep our audiences, because we're bleeding. We're bleeding. The Washington Post and the LA Times, the ownership said we're not endorsing political candidates. We're not endorsing the president. They've been doing that for a long time. They said, we'll just go back to reporting the news. In fact, we're going to revamp our editorial board because it's too far to the left. This is really absolutely fascinating. John Fetterman, so Pennsylvania Democrat senator. John Fetterman calls Trump's victory a serious flex for bros. They're not fascists. Not all bros are fascists. Most men are not fascists. LA Times owner vows revamp a very left editorial board. I wrote an article January of this year, 2024, called Woke Won't Work. That's the bottom line. It just doesn't work. So you have somebody advertising it, Bud Light, and they've got all the great things, the techniques, all the ideas are going to work so well. And they do the campaign with Dylan Mulvaney, and it costs them hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. What's the amount? So again, whether you love Trump or hate Trump is not the issue. It's fascinating. But there has been a shift towards the right, away from the radical policies of the left, because they simply do not work. They are not in the best interest of human thriving. To the degree now that we as the church, not looking to Trump, not looking to the administration, but we as the church can show that God has a better way. To that extent, we can help lead the way in a gospel-based moral and cultural revolution.